Today, our question is actually a little bit of a follow-up to the question about the flu vaccine. We had a few more questions after your initial answer, so we're just checking back in with you to hear a little bit more about that.
Okay, so anyone who's ever had official influenza knows that this is a nasty virus. Boy, I've had a couple times. I got awful sick with it and had 104 fever and muscle aches. Someone said having the flu is you're afraid you feel like you're going to die, but you're afraid you won't. You just feel that badly. And it does. It kills thousands of people every year in this country. You can get a hellacious pneumonia. It can lower your immune system, so you get superseding bacterial infections. It's no joke to have the flu. But there's now, in these ages of COVID, there's this cloud hanging over it because real reason you don't want to get the flu is that you don't want to get influenza and get so sick with an influenza pneumonia that you got to be admitted to the hospital, and your local hospital is overflowing with patients with COVID-19 infections. And you want to do everything you can do to stay out of that building. And for that reason, for those folks who have been reluctant or blasé about getting flu shots over the years, if you're someone, especially if you are at high risk for getting influenza, if you are a cashier at a supermarket, if you are a bus driver, if you've got person after person going by you, you're spending hours in the public air, the odds pretty high that somebody may be breathing out influenza viruses, and it would be a good thing to be immune to the most common viruses. Now, no one says that the influenza vaccine is 100% effective. It is not. And the vaccine, if it only gives 50% immunity, you give the vaccine to 100 people and only 50 of them develop enough antibodies to be immune. If it can keep 50% of the people out of those COVID-packed hospitals, then it would seem to be a good bargain. Now, my anti-vaccine friends are going to say, oh, Klaper, he's fallen into that vaccine nonsense. But no question, if I was bitten by a rabid animal, I'd want the rabies vaccine. It works. If there's smallpox, where we saw the smallpox vaccine eliminate that viral infection, there's no question vaccines can be effective at preventing killing viral diseases, and influenza falls into that. And again, no one's saying it's a perfect vaccine. It seems to be benign. We've been using it for decades. If it caused that many serious problems, we would know, but there doesn't seem to be a high incidence of spinal cord inflammation or autoimmune diseases after flu shots. 10% of people will get a sore arm or maybe run a low-grade fever for a day or two, but enough time has gone by. We've seen it doesn't to be any serious adverse effects. And if it can keep half the people from being admitted to COVID-packed hospitals, I think it's an appropriate vaccine to have. Now, my friends in the vegan community may say, hey, don't you know that the standard flu vaccines are incubated in duck eggs and hen's eggs, and you're asking those wonderful birds to pay a price to be in those hatcheries pumping out eggs so we can make vaccines out of it. And that's no small issue. As an ethical vegan, I don't want to be paying for that terrible infliction of suffering on those wonderful birds. Well, fortunately, science marches on, and they have engineered now the protein on the flu virus that they've just synthesized directly, and they've skipped the egg incubation stage altogether. The synthesized flu proteins are in a product called FluBlock, F-L-U-B-L-O-C-K, FluBlock, and it's completely synthetic, and it doesn't have the egg issue involved in that. So if you would like that synthesized protein vaccine, do a search on FluBlock, and you'll see which doctor's offices and travel clinics and some pharmacies are administering that. So you can, if the ethical issue is a concern for you, then you can track down where they're giving FluBlock. I'm told somewhere in the process of making FluBlock, some insect cells are used to pump out the protein or something. I don't know what insect. I don't know if any crickets suffered there. I don't know what it is, but that if there's anything non-vegan, it has to do with a few insect cells. But other than that, it's a vegan product, and it certainly doesn't seem to be causing suffering to sentient beings that the standard vaccines inevitably do. So that's how I feel about the flu vaccine. If you want to get one, I think, and especially if you are exposed to the public, then I think it's a reasonable thing to do. If you are a healthy person who these days, just month after month, you're at home, you're not really going out like so many people, it might be less important that you get a flu vaccine. But if you're exposed to the public and you know that the last thing you need is hospitalization from influenza, then the flu vaccine makes sense. Get that flu block and you'll spare the suffering of the birds there. So that's how I feel about the influenza vaccine, but I'm constantly reading the literature. If I see anything else that concerns me, I'll be sure to let you know. Hi everyone, Dr. Michael Klaper here, announcing our new format for our Q&A with Dr. K. Each day, Annie Hagen will be asking me one question that's been sent in by our viewers. So if you want to see if your question is getting answered, do join us for our daily Q&A with Dr. K right here. Hope to see you then.